And we're back. Core Justice, Chapter 6 time. Wanted to say this because I completely forgot the last 5 chapters. Make sure you subscribe so that you can make sure if I'm going to be doing more updates or more chapters or more anything, that you can get those delivered to you. Obviously good to have. So as you can see, I have now changed. It is a new day. So let's get on with Core Justice, Chapter 6. Let's make sure that microphone is going to be working okay. All right, Vanderbilt University Hospital, Nashville, Tennessee. The phone next to his bed rang. Cal picked it up and answered by habit. Stokes. Brian was on the other end. Hey, Cal, you've got a call from Headquarters Marine Corps. Some captain says he knows you. You want me to tell him you're out for a stroll? He mentioned what his name was? Yeah, Captain Andrews. Cal took a deep breath. You can patch him through. Captain Andrews had been Cal's platoon commander on his last 2 tours in Afghanistan. Captain Andrews had then been First Lieutenant Andrews in one of the Marines Cal had saved in that damned ambush. Andrews had reciprocated on their next tour by carrying a badly wounded Stokes, then a sergeant, out of another firefight. For that action and for saving a bunch of Marines and Afghani soldiers, Captain Andrews had later also been awarded a Navy Cross. The phone clicked through and Cal heard the voice of his former platoon commander. You there, Stokes? Hey, Captain, Cal answered. Didn't know they had you riding a desk at headquarters. You playing butler for the commandant? Ha, very funny, Stokes. No, they've got me sitting here waiting to take a platoon at 8th and I. And didn't I tell you not to call me sir or captain? We've been through too much for that, brother. Call me Andy. Captain Andrews' real name was Bartholomew G. Andrews. For obvious reasons, he didn't want to be called Bartholomew, mostly because probably I can't say it, or the even more heinous Bart. As a result, all his friends shortened his last name and just called him Andy. Hard for me to turn that switch off, Andy. Andy paused for a bit. Just heard about what happened to Jess. I can't tell you how sorry I am, Cal. If I'd known sooner, I would have flown out. Anything I can do? You think you can get the commandant to get me out of this hospital? Ha! What kind of shape you in? Cal looked down at his body, which was propped up in the hospital bed. Not too bad. Up and walking. Don't really need to be here. If you're still anything like you were a couple years ago, that probably means you're pretty beat up, Andy said. Weren't you the dumbass that snuck out of the hospital in Germany and tried to stow away in that C-130 on its way back to Afghanistan dressed like a Navy nurse? You know why I did that, Andy. I had to get back to my Marines. I know, Andy sighed. I just want to make sure that you take care of yourself. According to the papers, you got into some real shit. Thanks, sir. I just want to get as far away from this place as I can. You talked to the police yet? Yeah, they sent in some former Army guy. He was all right, asked me some basic questions and didn't press too much. If anything, it looks like the cops here in Nashville take care of the military. Yeah, that's what I'd heard too. Anybody giving you a hard time? Cal thought back to earlier in the week. Had some random calls from reporters, but I've got a pretty good former corpsman that screens the calls for me. He the guy I just talked to? This is Cal talking again. Yeah, pretty good guy. Speaking of which, could you do me a favor and do a little digging on him? I thought you said he was a good guy, Andy said. It's not that, but you know me, never hurts to have a little extra intel. No problem, Andy said. One of the perks of being close to the Puzzle Palace is that I can get the scoop on almost anyone. What's the doc's name? Cal told him what he knew about Brian, which wasn't much. Give me a few minutes and I'll call you back. The line went dead and Cal hung up as well. Cal mulled over the conversation. So Captain Andrews was at Headquarters Marine Corps. Large probability that they got him to make that move kicking and screaming. The good captain might not look like much, around 5'9", but he was a hell of a shot and knew how to take care of his Marines. Most people thought he was a candy ass when they first met him because he looked barely 21, but the man was a natural leader. Under the surface lurked a coldly calculating mind, not unlike Cal's. Maybe that's why they'd gotten along. His mind ticked back the seconds, then the minutes, then hours and days and years, back to when he first met, then Second Lieutenant Andrews. All right, so in the next chapter, we're going to be going into when Cal and Andy first met, and it's probably one of my favorite chapters that I've ever written. just because I've seen an iteration, a version of what's going to happen. So anyway, come back for chapter 7. I can't wait to read that one to you.